What's up everybody, welcome back to the Fit to Play Games channel. My name is Ace and today's topic of discussion is the PlayStation 3 and why it's a necessary console for anybody's game room to be part of. Personally, I've owned two kinds of PlayStation 3 since its release in November of 2006. I've owned an 80GB fat PlayStation 3 with no backwards compatibility, as well as the more common 80GB slim PlayStation 3 no backwards compatibility. As an added bonus, we are going to be unboxing a PlayStation 3 today. Guys, this is not a brand new PlayStation 3. However, this is the PlayStation 3 version of my choice that Sony came out of. So I finally found one at Goodwill at the price that I was willing to pay for, so we got it. But before we get even deeper into this entire topic and unboxing, if this is a video that certainly helped you decide which console you want to get in the future or whatever you guys are thinking about right now, then please give this video a thumbs up because that certainly helps this video compete with the YouTube algorithm. And if this is your first time coming to my channel and you like what I do and you want to see more, then consider hitting that subscribe button because that certainly helps my channel grow. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the PlayStation 3. Alright guys, so welcome back. Let's talk a little bit about my history with Sony. Now, I probably said this 100, probably a million times in all of my videos. My video game journey pretty much started on the Famicom, which was the original Japanese console, which was white in color with a lot of trim red, and the controllers were trim red as well with a little bit of gold in it. And then I jumped into playing the Super Nintendo. It's the SNES. I never really played too much of the NES because that wasn't really my era. That was actually my older cousin's era. And then my best friend introduced me to the Sony PlayStation. Now my very first love in the game that I've ever played the most, and you guys probably know this already, the Suikoden series was my very first love with the original PlayStation console. So it pretty much just built up from there. Suikoden 2, 3, 4, 5 Tactics, Suikoden Tearcraze for the Nintendo DS. I played them all. And my second love was probably Final Fantasy 8. Finished that on the PS1 and also finished the Final Fantasy 7, where I thought it was actually a pretty well-made RPG. And then the PlayStation 2 console was finally coming out. Mind you, the PlayStation 2 is actually a very special console to me. 20% that makes up this entire game room belongs to the PlayStation 2. My number one biggest library probably belongs to the PlayStation 2, second only by my Xbox 360 library. Anyway, going back to the topic, PlayStation 2 was coming out. Wonderful titles were coming out for the PlayStation 2. They had Final Fantasy X. Final Fantasy X just completely blew my mind. I mean, I played Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, and then 10 was just a completely different beast. It just kind of opened up the horizon for like, man, the beauty of this game is just amazing. And then Final Fantasy 11 came out. Now that is the game that I played the most for the PlayStation 2. I played it religiously. I actually saved up my lunch money in high school just to be able to buy the entire starter set of Final Fantasy 11 for the PlayStation 2. It was a big white box that had the Final Fantasy 11 online written in the front. When you open it, it has the hard disk drive that you would install in the expansion in the back of the PlayStation 2, as well as the game installer for the Final Fantasy 11. Now that was my very first MMORPG experience and I loved it. I played it religiously, just like I said. I have it installed on my PC. I played it on my PlayStation 2, and at that time I lived in my parents' house. You know, you're a teenager, you're still in high school. I lived in my parents' house, so whenever I'm in the second floor, I would be playing it over there, or sometimes I would just fall asleep trying to play it when I'm in my bedroom in the basement, and I would just pass out sometimes, where my party would just leave because I wasn't really doing anything. I was just getting EXP, so they would just leave me, but which I was fine with. Anyway, I played that all the way up to when I graduated high school, and sure enough, the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360 was announced first. Now, we all knew that the PlayStation 3 was not going to release along the side of the Xbox 360. Xbox 360 pretty much took over the holiday scene. Everybody was buying the Xbox 360. Why? Because there's no PlayStation 3. PlayStation 3 came out almost a year later, November of 2006. The Xbox 360 came out in November of 2005. So, that's a year apart. I was overjoyed, but at the same time, I've already picked up the Xbox 360 then. Because what happened is, Xbox 360 actually released a collector's edition of Final Fantasy XI to be played on the Xbox 360. There was no PlayStation 3 for me to use, and the only option for me was I wanted a more powerful console. Now, Microsoft being Microsoft, we all know, like the PC world, Microsoft rules the world. We all know that. But they came out with a console that could actually play the video game that I'm playing on the PlayStation 2. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's true cross-platform, right? I mean, I get to play a PlayStation 2 title on the Xbox 360. So I had no choice. In that matter, I'm like, the PlayStation 3 is not here, and the Xbox 360 seems to be playing really well with the Final Fantasy XI game, and it's well in tune with my PC as well. So it's not a rocket science. I would probably just pick up the Xbox 360 so I can play my Final Fantasy XI game on the console, which I did. The PlayStation 3 wasn't around yet, so that was the console that I kept on playing on with my Final Fantasy XI. And then the PlayStation 3 was finally gonna come out 2006, a year later, and I was playing more Final Fantasy XI. Obviously, I was playing out on my PC, I was playing it out on my laptop, and then my Xbox 360. And then after that, 2 years later, guys, don't hate me for this, I didn't even get it when the PlayStation 3 came out. I didn't even get it right away. I waited 2 years to get a PlayStation 3, and mind you, it wasn't even a brand new PlayStation 3 that I bought. I actually bought a pre-owned PlayStation 3 from GameStop. And sure enough, that PlayStation 3 actually didn't even play my Final Fantasy XI game. It didn't have that option. It wasn't gonna be ported onto the PlayStation 3, which really broke my heart, because PlayStation 2 had Final Fantasy XI, but how come you can't play it over to the PlayStation 3? That really broke my heart. What am I gonna play now? Like, sure, I'm gonna be playing on my Xbox 360, but I wanted to play it on its intended console, which is the PlayStation 3. I was kind of looking forward to it, but I didn't get that. And then that PlayStation 3 broke. There was an 80 gig, I think it was an 80 gig fat PlayStation 3 that didn't even have backwards compatibility, which was even more upsetting, because they came out with a 20 gig and then another 60 gigabyte that both had backwards compatibility, that had the PlayStation 2 CPU chip installed in there, which allowed PlayStation 2 games to be played on the PlayStation 3. And then they made an 80 gig, which was like, backward compatibility, nope. Wi-Fi, nope. It's just 80 gigabytes. That was really, really upsetting. But then that broke, and then I finally got rid of it. My Tekken 7 game was actually stuck on that PlayStation when I threw it away. And then Vanessa at that time, she finally bought me a slim PlayStation 3. I was really thankful, she gave it to me as a gift, and it was a brand new PlayStation 3. It actually had the PlayStation Move along with it, so it was a bundle, but it still didn't play any of my PlayStation 2 game, which was, I was kind of hoping that the PlayStation 3 is going to come out with the backwards compatibility that allowed me to play PlayStation 1 games, which it did. The Slim can play PlayStation 1 games, just not your PlayStation 2 game. I'm like, why skip a generation? That's so stupid, right? Anyway, that's my story. Sorry, it took a while. Anyway, I finally got the best PlayStation 3 version that I wanted to get. So before we get into unboxing this PlayStation 3, I want to tell you guys real quickly why it's important you guys should own a PlayStation 3 in 2022. Now, one, if you guys are collectors and you have a huge library of PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, that's one of the reasons why, because it will allow you to play those video games. Now, mind you, this PlayStation that I bought that has backwards compatibility with all of the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games, 10% of those games will probably not work on this PlayStation 2. However, that 10% anyway are probably games that you won't ever play, nor I would play. Anyway, that's number one. Number two, if you also remember when Sony announced that they were gonna finally shut down the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 3, that kind of made panic amongst video game gamers, because one, if they shut that down, if you wanted to play like an older PlayStation 1 game that you don't own in your library and it's in their PlayStation Store catalog, you won't be able to, because it's finally shut down. So if you guys have all the games that you want to play on your PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, then that is reason number two. This backwards compatibility or backwards compatible PlayStation 3 will allow you to play and still enjoy your games with what you have that's a physical game. So that's number two reason. And number three, guys, it's always so much more fun to be able to use just one console to be able to play your library. I have a huge library of PlayStation 1 games, PlayStation 2 games, and maybe medium-sized PlayStation 3. But to be able to use just one console to play all of those games that I have, that is certainly one of the best reasons why getting a PlayStation 3 that has backwards compatibility with all of your older games, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, would be necessary in 2022. Now anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and unbox this PlayStation. Alright guys, so this is the package that arrived in the Fit to Play Games headquarters. This came from Goodwill Industries of Southern New Jersey. I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away. But I've known you too long, it hurts to watch your blue eyes fade to gray as you fade away, as you fade away.
Yeah, I'm about to fade away, cause every time I wake up I feel like it's Monday. Something's going wrong with all the chemicals up in my brain. All of a sudden I don't look at anything the same way. Gotta build up of my thoughts sitting in an ashtray. I'm sorry that I'm so inconvenient, okay. Just let me be me and I'll stay out of your way. I can see the way you look at me, I'm such a disgrace. I never really asked to be brought into this place. You wanna love me? Well then baby I have a taste. All the highs and the lows, no you'll never be the same. I don't really wanna hurt you, but I can't control the pain. If you're sticking by my side, maybe we could be okay. Okay, maybe you could be the change I need today. I promise that I've never felt this way. I really hope that you will choose to stay through all the pain.
I know you told your friend you're not okay, and tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way. Guess you're trying to stay strong and fake a smile until I look away.
as well as, okay, so it also came with, what is this, your AV cables as well, that comes with it. What else is in here? And I'm assuming this is for the controller, so you can charge the PlayStation 3 controller. It's a USB connector that goes right behind the PlayStation 3 controller, just to power it up. And this is long enough so you can actually have some distance while it's charging. You can still play your video games. So let me put it into the side there. So now we got the console. What else is in there? Ooh! I didn't know these were included. So comes with, oh, I could say this PlayStation 3 console with the box as well as its contents is complete. Safety and support. More things for the PlayStation 3's capabilities. You know, some promotions about the PlayStation 3 and beyond. Technical support for the PlayStation 3. Video, a guide to the video game ratings. And here you go. Postcard to send your, I guess, to register your PlayStation 3. And that's about it. Wait, scratch that. There's actually this one right here. PlayStation, the official magazine as well. That's kind of cool. Oh, I'm so glad they included all of this content. That makes this PlayStation 3 a complete PlayStation 3. That's awesome. Alright, so let's get the system out of there. Oh man, I can't wait to start using this PlayStation 3. Alright, I'm gonna put this to the side for now. But here is the PlayStation 3. Yes, it's not the most perfect condition PlayStation 3. However, this is the PlayStation 3 that I wanted. Alright, so let me just point out that this is, like I said, it's not a perfect PlayStation. It doesn't look the best. However, in my opinion, this is probably the best PlayStation 3 that has come out from Sony. As you guys can see, let me show you or point out really what makes this the best PlayStation 3. And also why this is a backwards compatible PlayStation 3. And I'm gonna show you what you need to pinpoint to be able to figure out if the PlayStation 3 console that you have or you have bought is backwards compatible or not. Alright, so before I completely lose myself because I can't wait to try this PlayStation 3 out, I'm gonna show you guys the 4 things that you need to see in order to figure out if that PlayStation 3 that you're trying to buy or what you have at home can play your PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. Mostly for the PlayStation 2's purposes. But one would be this cover right here should flip up to reveal a Pro Stick and a SD mini card, any type of cards that can be loaded on your PlayStation 3. That should be open and it should have this cover to cover that up. 2, if you guys look closely, I'm gonna try and zoom this in so you guys can see it. Like right over here on the PlayStation's power source right here, if you can see this power source with the slash and this line that's kind of separated, there should be a line or some kind of it looks like a blemish or a scratch on the surface of this thing, but that actually is connected with this line to the power. So you'll see it right there. So the third sign that your PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 3 that you're trying to purchase can play PlayStation 2 games is the USB cord in the bottom. It should have 4 USB connectors in the bottom right here. If it has 2, then that means that's probably an 80 gigabyte, but it's probably one of those PlayStation 3 fat that did not have backwards compatibility as well as not having Wi-Fi. This has both. It has 4 USB connectors as well as the Wi-Fi right there, as you guys can see. And the fourth one, this one is the most important, because the fourth one is right in the back here. Just to show you the code right here, this is the code that you should be looking for. It is the CECHE01. This is the code for the PlayStation 3 that's able to play PlayStation 2 games as a backward compatible PlayStation 3. So now I've given you all 4 of them. There's actually a 5th one, which is probably not as important as the 4 things to spot when trying to buy a PlayStation 3 that is backwards compatible, or if your PlayStation 3 at home is backwards compatible. One is this right here. This piece right here, that is pure chrome. As you can see, it's not as scratched as the other places here on this PlayStation 3. That's because it's pure chrome right there. You can just clean it out and it'll shine like it's brand new. Anyway, the other PlayStation 3s that came out with chrome that is not the same as the CECHE01 is just painted chrome. So it's not like real chrome like this, it's painted on. So there you have it, guys. This is the brand new addition to the Fit to Play Games channel, the PlayStation 3 Fat CECHE01, backwards compatible. It's able to play PlayStation 1 games as well as PlayStation 2 games. So guys, if you have any question regarding where I might have gotten this one or where you could get it, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as possible, or you can send me a DM on my Instagram page, which is at Fit to Play Games. Anyway guys, thank you again so much for watching the video. I certainly enjoyed this and I can't wait to try out the different games that I have, different titles, different genres that I have here for the PlayStation 2 on this PlayStation 3. And until then guys, I will see you on the next video. Later.